Leo, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact your natal sun and what that means for your bottom line. I start off really broad with the big stuff that's going to pretty much generally affect everybody. And then I will focus down into Leo specific information. And then we'll break things down into the decans of Leo, which are groups of 10 degrees. There, of course, are 3 of them because there's a total of 30 degrees in every zodiac sign. And by breaking things down into the decans, I can see what angles your natal suns are making to other planets, and therefore how you're going to be impacted this week, because not all your natal suns are located in the same place, and this could have a profound difference on how your week is gonna go. You don't have to know anything but your birthday, so don't worry about that. All you need to know is what your birth date is, and then you can follow along really easily, because I'll translate the degrees of the decans into the estimated dates, like birth date spans. So you don't have to worry about that, but definitely if you want to get your natal chart, go grab your natal chart after this video. It's easy, it's free. There's so many websites that do it, and you'll have your natal chart in seconds. All you need is your birth date, which you already have, your birth time, and your birth location. Let's dig into the big stuff, shall we? We have the sun. Okay. Well, the sun is specific to you, but we have the sun's square to Chiron all week long. That's tough. I'm just gonna say that's pretty tough energy. The sun square Chiron is self-doubt, not feeling good enough, feeling just having almost a bruised ego. So there's extra vulnerability there. The big thing we're having this week is 2 major transits. Mars goes into Virgo, leaves Leo. Mars goes into Virgo on the 10th. Mars in Virgo is very kind of facetious energy. It likes the pedantic, steady pace. It likes to schedule things and have a grasp on everything that's going to happen, because it's very logistic. Now, that's good. That can be awesome, but it can also be easily frustrated when things don't go as planned. And there's a lot of things mixing it up this week, especially with Mars. Mars is, by the 10th, directly in opposition to Saturn, which is really, really hard energy. It's a lot of contention. There's a lot of anger, because you feel like you're always being restricted and held back, that feeling of being held back and being angry about it. And that's going to last through the 30th of this month. So it's kind of tough energy, but especially when the aspect forms, it's going to be rough. Just an FYI. We also have Mercury moving into Leo from Cancer on the 11th, and right around that time is when Mercury and Pluto go in opposition to each other, and Mercury fills in that spot that's square to the nodes and opposite Pluto, which means there's a lot of shit coming out. There's just a lot of information that's going to come out, facing the dark stuff and talking about it, bringing it to light, especially once Mercury moves into Leo. So I think there's something major coming, or just a realization personally for you guys. Could be a bunch of aha moments of what I need to change, and inspiration to want to change once you realize something, or the light bulb comes on, We also have, by the 13th, a very loose opposition between the Sun and Pluto that's happening, and that's outside of this. That's the last day of this week. It's not really in opposition to Pluto until a couple of days later, but it starts this loose transition around this loose aspect at the end of this week, and that's really tough energy. That's really formidable energy. That's really powerful energy. It's almost that kind of relentless, ruthless kind of energy that people can feel coming off you, even if you're not doing anything. It's kind of intimidating energy. And of course, then the sun will be also square to the nodes, which means there could just be something that is in our face that we can't resist, and like darkness exposed, that kind of energy. I don't know I don't know how the sequence is going. Mercury and then the sun, both in opposition to Pluto, but that's some real revelation kind of stuff to me. And I'm curious to see what happens with that. We have a grand square in the sky this week between Pluto, Mercury, and the nodes. And that means general pressure to begin with, just feeling like you're kind of imploding and everything is getting super heavy and difficult. And that's kind of going to, I think, cause the explosion that happens. It's like that buildup that just, we need the change, we need the release, and it's gonna come. All week long, Venus is still conjunct to Mars, even when Mars moves into Virgo. So that's very sexy energy, very tense energy, because Venus is also square to Uranus, which means she wants to be outside of the box when it comes to her sexuality and sensuality. So there can be a lot of straying from the norm, whether you're in relationships or not. That's also very interesting energy. And then we have Saturn semi-square to Chiron, which is a long-term aspect, but the reason why it becomes into play now is because of Mars moving into opposition with Saturn. So Mars in opposition to Saturn is already resentful and angry energy, just feeling, like I said, just feeling like things are restricting you, and the frustration and anger that comes with that. But also with Saturn semi-square to Chiron, there's also could be feelings of, because I'm not good enough. You know, I'm always getting in this resistance. I'm always getting held back because I'm not doing things right. I can't do things good enough. And this could really cause higher possibility of depression and anxiety. So that's not good stuff, right? Because when people are depressed and anxious, stuff starts to fall apart. And if you find yourself getting more depressed and anxious, it's because that's what's in the air right now. Let's see, and that's why with that square to Pluto, there's just this tension building, and there's explosion that might happen. Okay, let's go into Leo specific, okay? First, we look at what's going on in Leo, the zodiac sign, and then we look at what's going on with the sun. So, Leo. In Leo this week, all week long, is Venus. Venus moves between 24 and 27 degrees Leo, so she is conjunct to you third decan Leos, and we will discuss what that means. Mars is moving between 28 degrees Leo and then moves into Virgo. I think it moves till about 1 or 2 degrees Virgo, and that will moves into Virgo on the 10th. We'll also talk about what that means, but also for especially those Leos who are born on the Leo-Virgo cusp, all week long, your natal suns are going to be conjunct to Mars too. The sun is still in Cancer. It's still Cancer season. It is trine to Neptune this week, which is beautifully creative energy. It's also vulnerable and tender energy, creative and spiritual. The sun is square to Chiron this week. So once again, we discussed that already. A challenge to your self-esteem, a bruised ego. And then we have a semi-square to Mars, which is conjunct Venus, which is tension or energy, especially with that I want to test out new things and rebel from the norm, with the Uranus square to Venus. And then the sun is sextile to Uranus itself. What does that mean? We're primed to want something new in our lives because the something old keeps disappointing us or keeps reminding us of the ways that we've failed. So that's the energy of the sun this week. And the sun is optimism. So it's like, you know, it's not the easiest week. I'm just going to flat out lay that out there for you. Let's get into the decans. If your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Leo, it is in the first decan of Leo, and you are Leo ones. This correlates to July Leo birthday. So anywhere between the 21st or 22nd up through the 31st of July, that will be you guys. Your natal suns are in opposition to Pluto. They have been. That's going to be there for a while because Pluto doesn't move quick. But anytime there's a major aspect that forms on top of it, you're going to feel a change. And that's where Mercury slips in. By the 8th or 9th, if you're on the cusp, definitely by the 10th, 11th, all of you, you're going to feel all of a sudden Mercury move in to conjunct your natal suns and be in opposition to Pluto with you. What does that mean? There's aspects of your character that are facing these dynamic dark aspects outside of you, and you'll be challenged by it, and you'll have to confront it. You'll also have to confront and maybe bring up a lot of deep-rooted stuff that maybe was you tried to repress. When you're dealing with Pluto, you will have a natural authority to your character, but with Mercury involved, it's all about digging into the self-exploration, or digging to find the answers, or being the one that brings the answers out, because you'll want to confront some external darkness. So big waves of information and thought that are going to start to come up and happen to you this week. We have a long-term square to the nodes, but with Mercury there, once again, this could be information that turns the tide and makes you want to move forward and move away from your comfort zone, or realize you have to. And then we have the quincunx to Saturn, which is, once again, frustrated energy, this sense of resistance, this sense of, why am I having all these issues with laws and rules and authority and standards, and just constantly stimulated, which can really frustrate you. So this will not be the easiest week. And this is a week that I'm recommending a lot of people just try self-care, because it's unavoidably difficult is all I'm going to say. For Leo 2s. So Leo 2s, if your natal suns are between 10 and 19 degrees Leo, you're in the second decan of Leo. That would correlate to August 1st through August 10th birthdays. If you're born around the 9th, 10th, you are, well, all of you, but especially if you're born around the 9th, 10th, you're in a really tight trine to Chiron. Trine to Chiron is about healing. It's about helping yourself to move on from and learning from old wounds, and then maybe becoming a healer yourself. So that square to Jupiter could be exciting that energy and making you want to rush it or put more into it. This sense of realizing what's fair and unfair, what's right and wrong, and wanting to open doors for people or yourself a lot quicker. There is optimism, but with a square to Jupiter, there's also a feeling of being rushed, a feeling of moving too fast when your natal sun is square to Jupiter. So it's good energy, but it also is sort of a wild card in a way. So the best advice I have for you guys this week is just try to slow yourselves down and pace yourselves. Pace yourselves. That's exactly what you're going to need this week. Pace yourselves and maybe even schedule things so that you don't feel so rushed, or like you want to, like you should be doing more, is what I'm saying. And then we have Leo 3s. So Leo 3s, if your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Leo, you are Leo 3s. And that correlates to August 11th through the 21st, maybe 22nd birthdays. That's you guys. Your natal suns are still conjunct to Venus and Mars. If you're on the cusp, you'll be conjunct to Mars even when it moves into Virgo, because it's not going to move that far into Virgo. All week long, you're conjunct to Venus. That means you're all square to Uranus. There's a natural resistance and rebellion in you, wanting to be independent and do things on your own, to be different. But with Venus there, that's going to impact your love life. It might even impact your finances, but for you guys, it'll probably impact your love life more, especially with the conjunction to Mars, especially opposite Saturn. Really, you guys are going to feel that stress and pressure of restrictions, and are gonna restrictions, feeling restricted, or held back in any way. with that square to Uranus, you're just going to want to rebel even more, especially when it comes to your love life. You're not going to be able to take being suffocated this week, and the littlest thing could kind of set you off. So I would say just count to 10 before you overreact toward anything, and give yourself some alone time and give yourself some space this week, so there's no clashing, especially with your intimate partnerships. We also have your natal suns are semi-square to the current sun, which could mean you're more egotistical and batting heads with people more. This could get really argumentative with all the other pressures you're under. With all the other pressures you're under, especially you cuspers who will start to feel that opposition to Saturn just on the edge of it, but you'll definitely still feel Mars feeling it. So it could just get really tense this week. There's also a long-term, if you're at the cusp, a long-term sextile to the South Node, trine to the North Node, and quincunx to Pluto. So it is a sense of you guys embracing what you're good at and finding opportunities with what you're good at to open up doors for what you could be or the direction you could head in. That's long term. The quincunx to Pluto just means you're going to change. You're going to be stimulated to change and leave old things behind and move forward. But with that quincunx to Pluto, the stimulus from the square to Uranus, as well as Venus sitting right on top of you, watch out for your relationships this week and your sexuality and sensuality. All those things could start to stir things that even surprise you. Just an FYI. You let me know, guys, in the comments below how this energy is impacting you. I'd love to know. Definitely subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and then come on over to Born Without Boundaries to enjoy your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye, Leo.